MOTORMOUTH Jenkins here, welcoming you to our brand new YouTube channel. Hope that you'll come back and see every segment each and every week, and I will share preventative maintenance tips and regularly scheduled maintenance tips for your car. So whether you know a little bit about your car or absolutely nothing, this is the channel just for you, where I share over 35 years of experience as a qualified and licensed service technician with truck and coach, light truck and passenger vehicles. Come back and visit us and tell your friends, and we'll see you each and every week right here in the Car Connection Workshop on YouTube. Nile, MOTORMOUTH Jenkins here in the Car Connection Workshop. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Did you bring me a donut? No? Coffee? One of the donuts with little chocolate sprinkles on? No? Okay. All right. I like you. Thanks, friends, for stopping by. Another 97 TJ Wrangler segment for you. We're moving along. We're going to keep you in the loop on the projects we work on. Yeah, we don't work night and day to get each and every one of them done, but I work in segments. That's how I've worked for several years, even in my own service bays. You have stuff going on in 6 service bays. You're waiting for parts on this, parts on order for that. I can go over and do this over there. I can go over there and take care of that. The parts are here. That's how it works here in the Car Connection Workshop, but we get all the projects done at the end of the day. So we will have a Jeep TJ Wrangler 97, first year of the Wrangler, from what my Jeep experts tell me. We rescued it. For those who haven't seen our other videos on our YouTube channel, Nile, MOTORMOUTH Jenkins, be sure to like, subscribe, share, follow, and hit that notification bell, because we're putting up 2 videos per week, every Tuesday, every Friday. Stop by our radio broadcast. It's 30 years old, Car Connection. Visit our website at ccbusnet.com. That's carconnectionbusinessnetwork.com. You can shoot me an email through there, and you can also join our broadcast. Come and try your skill level on What's That Sound on our afternoon show. Name the automotive sound, win a prize every time. So today, what do I have for you? Well, we're building the motor for the TJ, and I'm just waiting for the weather change here in Canada, where, you know, we wear frozen mucklucks and the dog sled is frozen to the ground till July. I want to push it outside, power wash the frame, and do a little touching things up and making it look nice and pretty before the engine goes in. But we're building the engine right now, and we're taking you along with us. So come on in here. We're ready to do the next step. What we've done so far, I've checked the whole motor over. It looks good. It only has about 100,000, 125,000 K. We did the timing chain and gears, and I just wanted to touch base with you on that. If you haven't watched the last video, I don't think we've dropped that on the show yet, on the channel yet, doing the timing chain and gear set on this. I went into a chat room because I'm not super familiar with Jeep. This is my first time actually owning a Jeep, and never really cared to work on Jeeps, but now I'm learning some stuff. And when it came to the timing gears, what I realized was, in my world, whether I'm working on a Chevy, when the timing is set, the timing gears are set together, the crank and the cam, it puts the ignition distributor rotor facing at number 1 cylinder. Not on this one. So I went into a chat room before I went ahead and put the cam and crank gear and chain and tensioner and all the goodies in there, the dampener, and put it all together. And I lined up my timing marks, and my rotor's at number 4. So when I went in the chat room, lo and behold, there was a young chap asking the same question I had. Why is it pointing at number 4? And out of about an hour of reading and reading, no one really nailed it. And I come out of the chat room going, huh? Can nobody just say, this is what it is, black and white, period, end of story? Well, I'm going to wrap it up for you in a bow. When you're lining up your crank and your cam gear and putting your chain on, and you're lining up the crank mark to the cam mark. Forget about top dead center. You're lining the cam gear to the crank gear and the crank gear to the cam gear. That's all you're doing. And when you do that, the rotor will face number 4 cylinder. So I thought to myself, I'll guarantee you when I put the harmonic balancer back on and I mark my timing marks, which I have right here, and I still have the head off. We're going to put the head on today. We're ready to get this motor really going now. If I lined out my balancer to 0 timing mark, I said to myself, I'll bet you that the ignition rotor will be pointing at number 1 cylinder. So I did that yesterday. And sure enough, when I put the balancer at 0 timing, top dead center, I pulled the distributor cap off and it was facing dead nuts, number 1 cylinder. So there's your answer. Do your cam and crank gear and just pay attention to the 2 marks on the cam and crank gear lining up with each other. When you're done, the engine will run just fine, and then adjust your ignition timing where it's supposed to be. So I thought I'd share that. I do have a trick on the cam and crank gear that I'll share with you as we move along. A simpler way of putting the timing gear and the timing chain and everything and lining it all up, because it gets a little tricky. And I just used an old trick I use on the 350s, the 327s, the 283s, all those Chevy engines. I always did the timing, the crank and cam gear the same way. And you'll laugh when you see what I do. So today, I'm ready to, the block is all cleaned down. I just put a thin coat of thick oil on it last night. All the bolt holes for the cylinder for the head bolts, I blew them all out. I didn't want to put you through that because it whistles, makes a heck of a sound. But make sure you blow all your head bolt holes out and that they're spotless. And on this particular engine, you don't have any dowels to line up the head. And this is what I'm going to tell you. If you don't want to end up having to buy a second cylinder head gasket because you bedoinked it, and most of you guys will know what that means, you and your buddy didn't quite have yourself in sync dropping the cylinder head on there, or you're doing it on your own. It is so easy to bedoink a head gasket. That means you've dropped it, you put a mark into it, and you've damaged it. Make sure you pay attention and look at the gasket both sides so that when you see the words TOP, that's what it means. Yeah. Top. I can tell you a story about having to tear an engine down because somebody else did the job, V8 engine, mixed the gaskets up. Top was on the bottom, bottom was on, it was a disaster. So here's what I've done. I didn't have, I have a whole box full of different head bolts I've cut off. These are old head bolts from the old engine. I cut them off, I chamfered them, and I put a slot in. So these are going to be my lining dowels. I'm going to put one here, and I don't need to screw it in very far, and one down here, kitty corner, so I can drop that cylinder head straight down onto the block. So, and the threads are nice and clean. We're going to put our head bolts in some motor oil right now. And so those are going to be my dowels. And then I can just take them out, thread them out with my screwdriver down through the head holes. And what I can do is I leave these in place till I have the rest of the head bolts in. Then I'll remove these and put the last 2 head bolts in through the cylinder head. Then I'm ready to start torquing. So like I said, you don't need to draft these things down into there too far, just to give you enough that they're not going to pop out, and you can slip the cylinder head down by yourself. Just nice and easy, and lay it down on the head gasket. So it took me about a half an hour to make these up. I fished them out of the scrap bucket and thought, you know what, I'm not going to chance it laying it flat on there like a pancake, that I don't move the gasket one way or the other, or I don't drop the cylinder head and it nicks the head gasket, and then I've got a ruined head gasket. So do yourself a favor and avoid that at all costs. This is a big job. Take your time. Work clean. If you leave the room, you're going to be gone for a while. Bag the engine. Don't leave it open, because right now it's open. I've got oil in the cylinders, and that's what I want. I want some oil. It's going to smoke like a banshee when it fires up, and I'm good with that. You know, I don't know when this motor ran last. I really don't have a ton of history on it, so I like to put a slop of heavy oil in there, and I've cranked the engine over, and it's nice and smooth. Everything's nice and smooth. I'm happy with that. I laid some oil in on the valve lifters as well, and I've got my lifters and rockers will come up next. So what do we do now? I need to wipe the deck, and I need to apply a coat of, and I've been using this for years, so if you don't use it, fine, I do. On every gasket I do, especially head gaskets, intake gaskets, I coat them with Copperhead, one of my favorite adhesives. What this does is it eliminates, you spray it on the head gasket or intake gasket, it eliminates hot spots on the gasket. It seals any minor imperfections on the gasket. It gives you more sealing power to the gasket, and I spray both sides. So again, it's important you know where your TOP is, because when I lay the copper down on it, I won't see that. So I know that this bite, and it says R4 there, I know that this gasket is going this way, because it's just not going any other direction. If you look at it, it's not going this way. It's not going this way, but you could put it on this way. Ta-da! So you want to make sure you're moving the right direction. So I just get a piece of cardboard. While I'm wiping that down, I'm going to spray down my head gasket. I'm just going to do that right behind me here. So you spray one side, spray the other side. And when I post this video, I'll put the part number in the description for you. This is high temperature gasket adhesive sealant with genuine copper. It's pricey, and you can do a number of gaskets with it, but it's one of my favorites. It's my go-to, and no, they don't sponsor the show, but you know what? I've been for over 44 years. There's certain products, just like you, that you know you can count on, and I like that. Why change to something else when what you've been using works? So that's the purpose of this. It gives you extra sealing power. It prevents hot spots on intake manifold gaskets and head gaskets, and we certainly don't want hot spots. That's for sure. So I do the bottom side, then I flip it over, and I'll spray the other side. This stuff is amazing, and I learned all about this product when I worked at a Texaco station as an apprentice, and my boss was a dragster chap. He had a dragster, and I'd see him doing this stuff. He was a really good teacher, and he taught me, always use this. And when I had my military instructor, every gasket got sprayed with copper. It's just a better way to make sure that you got yourself covered. It really is. And any edge you can give yourself when you're building an engine, you need it, because it doesn't take but a moment to mess something up. And it's going to be a big mess, especially on an engine. So take your time, do the job thoroughly, work clean. I'm a clean freak, and I like to work clean. So now I'm going to wipe this down. I use lacquer thinners to wipe that down. I put a thin coat of engine oil on there last night, and then put the bag back on it so that it keeps the dust out, because of course once you put some oil on there, every piece of dust in the world is going to find your engine block. So the whole secret is to work clean and be clean, and if you don't think it's clean, it probably isn't. Clean it again, because that's where a lot of failures come from. I don't scrape the tops of the pistons. That's something I was taught never to do. In case you nick the top of a piston, then you've created a weak point. Just if there's a little bit of carbon on there, lay some oil in there, it'll soften it up. And wipe the cylinders down inside with some oil and leave it at that. Then put it together. All these little trade secrets that you can learn from someone who's been in the business more years than yourself. Pay attention. Pay attention. Because we can't know it all. You can only know some. And then some of the things you think you may know, you might not know. You know? You know what I'm trying to say? I like to learn new techniques, and I'm always open to listening. But stuff that I know that I've done for over 40 plus years in the trade, and all the stuff I've been blessed to be able to work on, I just stick with the technique that I know that works. And what you want to be careful of, if you're using sandpaper to clean this down with, you make sure you've got rags in the cylinders, rags in the ports, to try and catch as much debris as possible, because that's going to be the killer. If it gets down in the cylinder deep, it's going to do some damage. So that's the other reason I slop some pretty good oil in there, because that first puff, when this engine fires, I want it to smoke like an old steam engine and push any dirt that may have got caught between the pistons and the cylinder walls and perhaps the rings. I want it to blow it right out the exhaust pipe. That's where I want it to go. So the first bark, anything that may be in there that doesn't belong there, I want it out through the exhaust valve as quick as possible. So that's clean. That's good. If you're going to, whatever your technique is to clean your block, I use my razor blade scraper very, very carefully to get all the difficult pieces off. And then I use emery cloth, and I sand it down. And I wet this with motor oil. That's just a sample of what I use. I wet it with some thin weight motor oil, and I clean the block by hand. And then I like to feel the block and see if I missed something anywhere. If my fingertips pick it up, then I know I didn't do a good enough job. If you're using the Whizzy wheel to clean this down, here's what I'm going to tell you. And it comes from the machine shop. How many times they find engine blocks where it looks like this? I mean, that's an exaggeration, but with a feeler blade and a straight edge, you want to be very careful you're not burning into the metal and creating highs and lows on the deck of the block. You just don't. So, yeah, it may be a faster way to clean it up, but if you're not really skilled with that Whizzy wheel, that's what I call it, the Whizzy wheel, you're probably going to do some damage. It comes with experience. You know, when I was an apprentice, I was not allowed to use any air tools until the boss said I was prepared to do so. Because you need to learn what tight means. You need to learn that. You really do. And how do you teach that? You can't. You really can't. Even the apprentices that I've taught, you can't teach that. And I did the same with my own apprentices, was no air tools. Give me your air tools. And they stayed locked up in my toolbox till I felt that they understood what tight means and what tight feels like. All right, we are ready. It's exciting. This thing is coming together now. It took us 4 or 5 months to find an engine that was actually going to do the job, if you know what I mean. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to get my head bolts in some motor oil, which is important, extremely important. I don't have enough workspace. The chuck wagon's full. So again, you know, set yourself up to have a workspace. I don't need a ton of room when I'm working, but I need some space. There's my beverage. All right, we want to get the head bolts in there. I want a little bit of oil on my homemade guide bolts. And these head bolts are torque to yield. And what that means is the old head bolts, you can't reuse them. They're one time only, and they got to be torqued to a spec. Then they got to be torque turned. What does that mean? Well, you're going to find out as we go along. So we have two types of head bolts here. We have studded head bolts, and these are a gadget. I don't understand why the studs are on them. I don't know, because there's nothing that fastens. When I pulled the engine out, there was nothing fastened to any of these studded portions. I don't know. What do I know? I don't know. And these are the other bolts. Yeah, very interesting. That's all I can say. Very interesting. So we're going to get those all in there. So these have to be torqued and then torque turned. So they're going to be torqued. They're going to get torqued off. Like what can happen, if you get your mate upset at you? Torqued off. Yeah, I had to make this socket. Could not get a socket to fit this. So I had a ton of 12-point sockets at one time, and all of a sudden I don't anymore. And so I went looking for, this is a 1/2 inch 12-point head, whether it has the stud on it or not. Well, it's happy day if it's not studded. But when the studs are on there, this got to drop down in the socket. Well, it wouldn't do that. It would not, because the inside of the socket was not hollow all the way through. It tapered down, so I could only get about that much bite on the head of the bolt, which is no good. We need to go all the way in, because we got to torque turn these after 100 foot-pounds. After 100 foot-pounds, we need to turn these bolts 1/4 turn. Well, I'm certainly not going on that head bolt with that much socket on the top of that bolt. I'm not doing it. If it strips it, boy, you got a problem. So what I did was my father was a machinist for many years. He gave me some of his machinist tools, and I had a reamer in these tools that I could fasten in my drill, and I just fastened this in the vise between some wood, and I just went right down in the middle of this, and it took that centerpiece right out, and took me like 2 minutes, voila. Or la the wa, depends on where you are. So that's how I got this. I went everywhere to get a socket that was totally hollow in the center. This was the best I could come up with, and it wasn't cheap either. It's an Armstrong, made in the U.S. That's the best I could find at a professional marine. We're talking big ship marine company that in a little town called Port Colborne that's been around like 150 years. And the guys at Napa and Napa said, go over and see the fella at blah, blah, blah. And I went over there, and I was like, looking at all the tools. Oh, my goodness. Specialty stuff for, you're talking freighters, ocean liners. Okay, so I've got my head bolts in oil. It was a good year. Very nice. Very nice. Would you like some? So my head bolts are ready. And I'm just going to set them. That's why I put a little cloth on here. It's kind of like a little doctor's table, So I do things specifically for me. So now we need to do the other side of the head gasket. So you're saying, well, I can't wait till I see how he does the other side. I knew you were going to ask me. My friend. The stud is my friend. So I will pick this up, and I will just hang it on my studded little buddy here. Actually, I'll use this end. No, I'll use this end. I'm just going to spray that out. Yeah, and I'm going to put copper on my hands too. I don't care. Got to get the job done, man. So, again, time. Give yourself time to do stuff. You know, it doesn't matter what somebody else thinks. How come it's taking you so long? Do the job once. Do it well. Don't listen to the outsiders. Do a thorough job. Give it your best. Because if you cut corners, you know what I was taught was it's going to come back to bite you right in the butt. And it is so true. So true. So that what's good about this stuff, it tacks up really quick. It's like literally seconds and you're good to go. And it doesn't matter if you touch the edge of the gasket or the edge of one of the compression rings, you're okay. And then I'll just check it, make sure I did okay. Pretty much okay. I didn't sign it or anything. But there are a couple spots. Wow, it makes really nice fingernail polish. Or something. I'm going to cut and give it another coat. I'm going to try and lay it down just a little bit. And just... I like this sauce. Because if there's any imperfections in the block or in the gasket that you can't see, it fills them in, gives you that extra protection. And you know what? That's what you need. Just make sure you're good. Funky. It's kind of psychedelic. Okay, so I'm going to put this bolt in down here. And again, choose your flavor. That's what I do. If what you do is different, I'm plenty okay with that because we all have different techniques. You say, well, hey, MOTORMOUTH, how are you going to get those out? I knew you'd ask. That's why I only put them in enough that I know the cylinder head isn't going to get away from me. And then I'm going to turn them out with my screwdriver. And then I'm going to put my magnet down in there. Don't touch me, I'm sterile. Or something like that. Yeah, you know, my magnet that I can't find right at the moment, it's in here. I know it is. You know, I got a big toolbox, but it isn't even big enough anymore. It just really isn't. Did I have it out for carb work? Okay. Momentarily, I'll find it. I believe it's in my basket. So now I'm ready for this baby. Now make sure you see your TOP, or my reference there. See, I can't read TOP anymore, but it says R4. So it's not quite tacked up yet. So we'll just kind of, I'll sing you a song or make up a nursery rhyme of some kind that probably shouldn't air. Yeah. So again, take your time, work clean, and you know what? I like to build engines when nobody's around. And the reason for that is I'm not being a hard ass or anything. It's just that it's easy to get distracted and you forget something by accident, and you certainly don't want that to happen. You don't want to miss a step. You don't want to make a mistake. When you got people hanging around, it's easy to make a mistake. You know, I've only built a few engines with guys that, you know what, I can work. They work on one side, I'm working on the other side. We're focused on what we're doing, and we can build a motor twice as fast together. But that's few and far between. It's really important that you can be focused. You got everything laid out properly. Constantly recheck and check yourself when you're doing it, so that if you've missed something, you can catch it before it's too late. You know, before you've put the head on and you go, oh, I didn't do this or I didn't do that. You want to catch that, and you can. You can generally catch it before it happens. So just let that, I don't think it's not tacked up yet. good enough for me. Is it good enough? Well, it might be good enough for the person it's for. I don't know. But it is tacky. I think I'm going to install. We're going to lay that down on there. So, again, double check and check. So I line that up for my studs, and look at how easy that is. I can drop that right down, right where we're on the home page. Now I'm going to get the goo off my fingers because I don't want that traveling onto something that it shouldn't. So that's where a little bit of lacquer thinner works really good. So I can't say it enough, is work clean, because that's where a lot of stuff that fails because you don't take the time. Go clean your hands. Clean your tools off. Stop, put some tools away, you know, and then it reduces the opportunity for something to come back and bite you. I learned that from my military instructor, mechanical instructor. Work clean, work organized. If things are getting cluttered, stop, put some tools away, sweep the floor up. If I was going to be sweeping the floor there right now, I would have to bag that. So that we're not going to do until the head is on and everything else. Do you mind if I have a beverage? Excuse me. Same as last time. Very good then. Man, that's enough to give you a brain freeze. Okay, so next, what do we do next? I knew you'd ask. So we're going to take this and just roll this back like so. And that's going to tack up even more for me, which is good. All the holes are lined up where they're supposed to be. And there's nobody missing. That's good. All right. So now we can slice this open. And I put this away. It's been serviced for a while. And you might say, well, why did you pull the engine apart if it had low mileage? You know what? It's out of the vehicle, and I only want to do it one time. So I don't want to be building the Jeep and then having to tear it down. So I like to do it once and really good. So it's getting a new water pump. It's gotten timing chain and gear, tensioner and dampener, new seals in the front, oil pan gasket. Check the bearings in the bottom. Everything looks really, really good. I would have to say yes. The condition of the motor inside definitely depicts that it's low mileage for sure. And I'm pleased with that because I bought it privately. I did trust the fella because I knew him through other contacts. And so it ended up, we knew of each other but never crossed paths. So instead of just sticking the motor in, I put a lot of pre-owned motors in, and a lot of times you don't know the history. Just change them. You know what these are, guys, right? Frost plugs. Un, deux, trois. No, they don't fit there. These go in the head. Ha, ha, ha. Thought you had me, right? Not this time. Those are in there. The head is getting new ones. Yeah, so this has got to be cleaned up a little bit more on the exhaust intake side. Then I'm debating whether I want, this is heavy. This little guy is heavier than it looks. So when that thing slides down those pins, it's going to be a hallelujah moment because this little guy is heavy. And fingies get pinched. So all I did for the cylinder head was I took it down to my machine shop guys, and they looked it over, said it was in really good shape. So they said we just refreshed it, put some valve seals in, ground the valves a little bit, just cleaned them up. That's all he said. We just went through it, Nile, we just cleaned it up. Cleaned it up, touched it up. He said it looks really good. They magnafluxed it. We're not going to run into any kookiness. And you certainly don't want any kookiness, let me tell you that. So, well, which way does this go on? I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'm going to say this probably faces the driver's side. I'm talking out loud here. It's pretty exciting. We're finally getting on with this. We didn't think we were going to actually find a cylinder head to fix the other motor. But then when we found we had a piston with a hole in the size of a golf ball, yeah, that put that one in the park. Okay, so let's wipe that puppy off. It's been a little machined. It's gone through the grinder. Yep. So we just want to, I've had this bagged up since I got it back. So we might need to just do a little nodule cleaning. That's a technical term for something you can't explain. Nodules. Just knock off the nodules. But the valves look good. If you want to kind of show them this side of things. It's been resurfaced. The valves have been all done. Cleaned seats. Seats are all good. Valve guides are good. They didn't have to change guides, so that was another indicator. The motor is low mileage. So, because you don't know. I didn't know the previous owner. I purchased it off the guy that bought a Jeep for parts. And he didn't need this engine. He's running a 6-banger. So it was like, hello, Dolly. This is the cot for Dolly. It's what we were looking for. So I thought I'd get the head done and just make sure, you know what? Dress it up like you're building a new engine. That's what I tell you. Treat it like you're putting in a brand new motor, even though it's used. I know a lot of shops, engine builders, they don't like to deal with used engines, but I'll tell you, I've saved some people a lot of money and a lot of heartache over the years, but you do need to know where you're getting the engine from. And a lot of times you don't get the history if you're buying it private. It can be creepy. And that's what I discovered. It was creepy. Guys in the U.S. were trying to get my credit card number. They were going to ship me a 2.5 with low mileage on it, blah, blah, blah. They could be telling you anything. You don't know. You don't know. So we're just going to make sure that we do our job here. I'm going to wipe this down with another clean rag. I think this one it's leaving a bit of residue. I don't like it. I think this is just I don't feel anything there. So I think I just might, I think I might. Just give that a little scuff. Not much. It's probably just some residue from the stone. Yeah, it's not cheap to have anything resurfaced anymore. Machining is, the prices on machining. You need to take a break? So what you're saying? You know the signal for that? It starts off like this, and then like this, and then we go to this, and then, and then we go to this. Hey! Well, thank you for stopping by the Car Connection Workshop right here on YouTube. Don't forget to come back and join us for another segment. So like, share, tag, and follow, and ding that bell so that you don't miss a single edition of Car Connection. So till next time, keep it under 100 and put the coffee on because we're coming to your house.